If you've been tuning in regularly, you know I'm a huge advocate for virtual summits as a powerful way to grow your own audience and business. Today, I'm excited to bring you another perspective on this strategy with a fellow summit enthusiast who's helping coaches take the leap into hosting their own events. I'm joined today by Julie C. Butler, also known as the Summit Queen. Julie is a virtual summit coach who specializes in helping coaches on the other side of 40. Yep, that's this girl here. Confidently host their first summit to expand their email list, increase their visibility, and boost their revenue. With over 15 years of business experience and as an Amazon best-selling author, she brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. Today, we're going to dive deeper into the summit strategy, exploring different approaches, overcoming common obstacles, and how coaches can leverage this powerful tool without getting overwhelmed in the process. So, whether you're already hosting a summit, are planning your first one, or just curious about the process, this conversation will give you fresh insights to consider. Let's head into the episode, friends. Hey there, I'm Rachel Starr, ex-wedding planner and recovering people pleaser turned your community strategist. And not too long ago, I felt a bit like Angela, planning a Dunder Mifflin party, trying to make things perfect, yet wondering if people would actually show up and enjoy themselves. That's when I discovered the real game changer, community building. It's the key ingredient to everything. Whether you're launching your next course, growing a podcast, or creating a space where people want to connect and engage. Each week, we'll roll up our sleeves and dive into the essentials of community building, from virtual events and workshop planning to fresh, innovative strategies for fostering real connections, all without the party planning committee drama. Whether you're just getting started or ready to level up, you'll find practical tips, expert interviews, and real-world insights to help you craft a community that fuels your next big move. So if you're ready to get inspired and transform the way you build connections, you're in the right place, friends. Let's dive in and master the art of community together. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Your Community Strategist. Today, I have a special treat for you all. I am so excited to welcome Julie Butler, the Summit Queen. And Julie, can you please tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do? And I gotta know, how did you get the name the Summit Queen?
Yes, absolutely. So actually, I don't know if this dates me now, age ages me, but I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years. And it started out with me picking up a camera when I traveled, but then when my son was born, I started taking pictures of him. And next thing you know, I'm doing photos for other people and I'm shooting weddings, and then the rest is history. But about 5 or 6 years ago, I also did network marketing. And then when I got done with that, because it wasn't for me, I'm an artist. And so I started doing photography again. And then the artist bug was calling me. And I started doing uh, female entrepreneur branding photos. But then I kind of started realizing, well, wait a second, like I can have a global business too. It doesn't have to be local. And that's kind of like was the birth of my online business. And I started out with, stock photo membership. And then it evolved into me teaching people how to have a beautiful business, a beautiful online presence, and all of that good stuff. Until about 2022, I realized that there was a gap. There was a missing gap in my business, and that was audience growth. And I was like, okay, well, how do I fix that? And then I kind of knew about summits, but I never, I truthfully, like secretly, I was like, oh, I'll do one of these days or whatever. But I got on a call with with an audience growth expert, and she was like, you should do a summit. It can be this day. It can be called this. It can be this. She had it all mapped out for me. I'm like, yes, I'm hosting a summit. And so that was the first summit was in October 2022. And I was It was so much fun. I enjoyed every minute of it, from the idea to the planning and organizing to I'm a tech nerd. I love doing the inside, the back end, everything, all of it. Um, and obviously, I'm an artist, so I'm a nerd about, beautiful website pages for your summit, all of that stuff. But you know what? The thing is that I was like so meant to host summits, and I ended up my first virtual summit ended up getting 1,900 attendees, and I grew my email list by like 1,500 people. And then I just fell in love with it. And so in 2023, I hosted again 2 summits, and I absolutely just love hosting summits because and I'm sure we're going to talk about it during our time together, but there's so many opportunities that come on the back end of hosting a summit, some that you don't even know exist before until you've actually hosted a summit. And so some of my friends were like, oh my God, like friends and business colleagues were like, you're the summit queen. And, so so like, fast forward to like fall of 2024, I kind of changed directions in my business. I was like, the branding coach kind of persona for me never really sat. It wasn't feeling aligned anymore. And I was like, if I truly ask my heart what it wants, what it truly desires, is like, I want to teach people how to host successful, high converting virtual events because that's where my heart is at. I love doing that so much. I can talk about it all day long. And so I shifted my business into becoming a virtual summit coach, AKA the Summit Queen. And here I am. Here we are today.
Awesome. Julie, we are so similar. It's crazy. As a lot of our listeners know, my background began in event planning, corporate events, and weddings. And I made sort of a similar transition. I also love the educational side. That's probably my favorite thing about the co-op, my membership community, is that I love teaching people how to do all those things. And I call myself a tech nerd all the time. So I so resonated with so many things that you said there that I was just like, oh yeah, Julie and I would be really good friends if we lived in the same town. We would be hanging out for sure. And you didn't date yourself because you dated us both if you were dating yourself, by the way. So don't worry about the 20-year thing at all. Cause I've past that now. Oh, scary, super scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. I think what I'd love to kind of chat about a little bit is a lot of our listeners kind of understand the nuts and bolts of how to set up a summit, how to come up with an idea, how to do those things, right? I really want to dig in because you're such an expert on the strategies of what to do after the summit's over. I feel like it's such an underutilized time that I hear from a lot of my one on one clients that I work with is that the summit's over and they feel like this sense of massive relief. They're like, oh, it's over. But to me, that is like the time to really capitalize on all the hard work you've done. So I'd love to hear, what are your recommendations? Like, you've just had this epic summit, you've had really great growth. Uh, Maybe you've put some decent money into the bank because it was a paid offering. What are your top 3 things you would do if your summit was ending this week? What would you do next?
Well, first of all, always remember to thank the people who have attended your summit, not just them, also the people who spoke at your summit, because those are relationships that you truly want to nurture because you never know what it can end up in with future collaborations or being guests on podcasts or any of that stuff. So really, really important. But the thing is that you've just acquired X amount of, new people onto your email list. Don't leave them standing. And, Rachel, I did the math and I tallied up over the last 2 years, the percentage of income coming into my business, and 42% of the income in my business as a direct result from people attending my summits. So right? Like, so 42% of my income. So if you get them onto your email list and you do nothing with them, you're missing out on a really good opportunity for making money. You're leaving money on the table, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So we know now that there's like, it's not 7 touch points anymore for someone to, buy from us or any of that stuff. It's like somewhere upwards to the 40s or something. So you want to do a really good job at nurturing those people, gaining the trust, the likability, the relatability, the human, right? Like we want to show up and be the human because that people buy from humans now. They don't buy just from, right? So you want to show up as you, your authentic self, nurture them, and don't forget to sell to them, right? Like a lot of people don't want to be salesy, but it's our job to be salesy. It's our
Right.
job to fall in love with the selling. And, and then as a result, in a couple of years from now, you can look back and say, holy cow, like 40 or 50 or however much percent of my income comes as a result of hosting my summits. Because, as they say, your net worth is in your network. So, right. So
Yeah.
it's really, really important to don't, if you weren't consistent at email marketing before, now's a really good time to start.
Absolutely. I always preach about nurturing that list because you own that list now. That's yours and not letting them just hang out there. Another thing that I always recommend to people, I'm curious if you utilize something like this, I'm sure you probably do, is I always follow up with some sort of survey to get a pulse on how they felt the summit went, what we did really great, what was lacking, so that I can do better later. Is that something that you recommend to folks when you're working with them too?
Yes, although I haven't had great success in actually getting that many people to fill out the survey.
Yeah.
Always like, we're so busy now, right? So, I think what I'll try this time, and I know we can do that in Kit, you can do a poll inside of your email. So I think this could be like yield better results in terms of getting people to answer. It is using a poll in the, I don't know. But I think that definitely you want to do a survey. We can send it to our email, we can put it in the Facebook group or whatever community you had when you were hosting your summit to try and get people to give you feedback. And because that just helps you to, make it better the next time, but also testimonials, right?
Right.
Because if people have something good to say, they're going to say it. And so it's a really good opportunity. And if you're going to host another summit, how amazing is it that you can put those screenshots on your sales page, on your registration page for the next summit, right? So yes, I think summits are a must for not just our summits, but all the other things in our businesses. Getting people to actually answer them. Maybe we can give them an incentive to answer the survey, give them a little treat at the end if they fill it out. But it's a fabulous way to get so much good feedback.
Yeah, I agree. We've been like kind of testing a few options for a client summit right now. We decided one, I think the poll is a great idea. We've been utilizing that within I use Flowdesk, but very similar to Kit. And they added polls in, I believe, last year. And that's been such an easy, like I think people love the ability to give a quick response, right? Like they don't have to like the list's not there because you're right, they're so busy. But to really get people to fill out a big survey, we've been doing a giveaway for Amazon gift cards. So, like, however many people fill them out, then we give away an Amazon gift card to try to incentivize them. But yeah, we've been able to gather those really great testimonials, which are so important, like you mentioned, to like just get people to like see themselves in attending the next summit or making that purchase from you and building that relationship again. Yeah, fantastic. So, question for you too. You said yourself that you did that second year 2 summits in that year. What's your frequency like now? Like how often do you do a summit per year? Like what decisions lead you to do however many number that is?
So in I think I was riding the wave in in during that time when 2022, and then I did one in the spring and one in the fall of 2023. And I actually pre-record my interviews with all the speakers, kind of like what we're doing now. So,
Yeah.
but I give myself like 6 months to plan and organize my summit to give
Yeah.
me the time to actually do that and do it properly, not to mention the back end of things, right? Um,
Right.
so, because I don't know, like it was just such a fun time, and the relationships that I made and built over the course of hosting the summits, because I pre-record with my speakers, you just build that connection to the next level, and there's you can't put a price on that, honestly, and by doing so, also you're kind of building a relationship with them, and they just I feel like they want to promote more because you build that connection, right? But then in 2024, I actually skipped that year because, long story short, we decided that we were going to sell everything, move to Costa Rica, and yeah. And so we did that. And then while we were there for almost a year, and just things didn't work out, but that's a story for another day. Um,
Yes.
During the time, probably the last 6 months of the 6 months of like the first 6 months of 2024 was a difficult time. And I kind of like what I like just I wasn't planning on anything because of everything that was happening. And then we decided to move back to Canada. So that was like the whole moving and prepping for that and everything. So when I came back, I got back in July last year. um, I knew I was gonna host another summit, but I waited until the spring of 2025 just because I wanted to allow myself a good amount of time to be able to plan and organize and do all of the back end stuff without stress or overwhelm, and to have balance in your business, right? Because you're hosting a summit, but you're not just hosting a summit. Your business keeps on living. You need to keep on doing the things in your business, whether that looks like launching your program or selling or having flash sales or Black Friday sale, whatever that keeps on going, right? So you're not just planning and organizing your summit. You have to do all of the rest of the stuff too, not to mention, lifing. So,
Right. Lifing. I love that. Lifing is good.
right. So that's kind of what led me to skip a year. But I think, my current summit that is happening at the end of April. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but um, uh, I have 50 speakers, and so because
Wow.
yes, because there's so many good ones. That's what
Yeah.
I have a gift of manifesting the best speakers. And so I capped it at 50. And because I pre-recorded everything with everybody, not that that is a problem or a challenge, it's so fulfilling, but it's a lot of work. That's like you're talking 50 hours of my time. Now I did it over
Right.
a span of almost 3 months. So like, it was well balanced, but the thing is that it's a lot, right? So now I'm like, I think I'm gonna take a break for and maybe I'm gonna do this annually, but go all out. I may consider trying a bundle in the fall. We'll see.
50 is a huge lift, I have to say. This will actually air after that goes live. This won't come out until May. But do you do a replay of your summit so that listeners can go check it out?
No, but that's something I'd considered.
Okay. Okay.
So
Well,
you never know, right? You never know.
right.
So definitely, be in my world, whether it's on social media or email list, to find out what's the latest and greatest. But I don't know. Maybe it's going to be something that's going to be included if I host a bundle in the fall. Then I may include that. You never know, right? Like,
Absolutely.
trying to think outside the box of different things we can do in our business to bring forward, some of the goods that, because there's so much goodness in a summit, right? And
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
and it's like you said, right? Like, 50 speakers, that's like recording 50 podcast interviews in the span of 2 months and launching them all on the same day.
Right. And the editing and the tech lift and all of the things associated with that is astronomical. I have a client who as we're recording this, like we just launched her summit last week. Her summit is pre-recorded as well, with a live kickoff and a live call at the end too, so we kind of, bookend it. But it's so interesting you say that because she had 24 interviews, and she did it over about 3 months, getting them all lined up. I mean, you have to think of just the logistics of people who have to reschedule because life happens. They're lifing, as you say. I love that.
Exactly.
Um, and all of those things that happen just to get it packaged, done, and out the door is astronomical. Like, I know how hard she has worked, and you're doing double that amount of content. That's a whole lot of content creation, lady. I can see why you're the summit queen because that is massive, like huge.
Yes. And I mean, I don't have anything to compare to, right? Because I hosted my first summit and then my second and third summit in 2023. It was about 1,600 attendees to both
Uh-huh.
summits. So I'm not sure, like, with the right amount of people, with the right people and the right amount of people, I think, but honestly, like the number, I know that I'm thinking, oh my God, like 1900, that's so amazing, right? But, there's nothing wrong with having 200 or 500 people
Oh,
sign up for your summit if they are the right people, right? And I want to
100%.
emphasize that because if you've got 500 people joining your list, attending your summit, but you're super niched and it's the right people who are going to move forward and potentially buy your offers, then you're better off than having 2,000 people and only 1% of them or a fraction of that be the right client for you, be your soulmate dream client, right?
Right, absolutely. Well, and I think that also goes back to when you're choosing your lineup, right? So when you've chosen those 50 speakers, you've chosen to align yourself with people who help bring you that right audience, right? I
Yes.
mean, like that's the big push. And you're right. I mean, 1900 is fantastic. I work with a client who we get over 20,000 attendees because of the nature of her summit itself, right? It's a much wider berth and network
Exactly.
of items. And then I work with a client who's in the special education space, and we're so pumped to hit 1,200 there because it's super niche, and it's so funny because they're not comparison at all. And I'll be honest, they actually both generate about the same amount of revenue
Yeah.
from the summit itself. So I always remind people of it's not necessarily that number, it's getting that right audience, and you're completely accurate. I mean, it's the same with your email list. You don't want to pump your email list full of a lot of people who aren't your people. You're not going to be able to sell your offers to them then or later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I wanted to go back to like at the beginning you asked me how to leverage your audience after your summit. I think
Uh-huh.
also we talked about and touched on nurturing them and stuff like that. But when you're post summit, launch something. What do you have to
Yeah,
lose? Right? And
absolutely.
I think that's important too because you've got them like in a warm zone.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't you launch to them, your program or your membership or, an offer or one-on-one coaching or whatever that looks like, or a summit encore, perhaps. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Right? Use that opportunity because they're warm leads now. Like they've heard from you, they've seen you in action, and they probably like you if they're still in your audience or your community, right? So take that opportunity to sell to them your program or whatever it is that you want to offer them.
Yeah, 100%. Most of our listeners have private communities, so off of Facebook, and are using things like, well, Circle. That's, most of our audience uses Circle, but we have a few people who use the Mighty Network and School. And we have one client actually who uses Better Mode, so I won't leave them out of the list. But one of the big things that we've found at the end of summits is really helping to grow that community itself, whether we're pushing them to nurture them in email, but you could also nurture them in your community, whether that be, and it could be a Facebook group. I'm not a big fan of Facebook groups personally. I'm not a big fan of Facebook, which I know is somewhat controversial for some, but it's just not my cup of tea to be in a space I don't own. Um, just like I don't love social media in general because you don't own it. And I'm very much into private communities. But even if it is a Facebook community, That idea of nurturing them well after the summit is over is so important there too.
Yes.
Of just, and you can launch your offer there, or you could be talking about your offers there. Cause you're right. People begin, they might, maybe your very first one, they don't know you, but you're starting to, put your stake in the ground as an expert in whatever the field is. And so, therefore, they start to buy from you because they like the content that Julie puts out. They're like, "Oh, everything Julie puts out is fantastic. So yeah, I'm gonna go buy that." And oh, did you buy that because she has another offer coming out, or you can bundle it. It's that idea of you start that momentum because you're completely right. People aren't sure people buy brands, but people aren't buying from big brands for these sort of purchases. They're buying from the person who's cultivating
Mhm.
that and you putting together 50 speakers is a heck of a lift. So for someone to attend the summit, hang out there, and then go, yeah, this is a no brainer. I'm going to buy whatever Julie's offer is on the other side of this. It's so smart to have that as part of your roadmap for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm seeing it more and more now. People are taking the communities off of Facebook, like what you were saying, right? Like in school is a good one. There are other ones. There's Heartbeat and and a lot of like my biz besties have communities in these on these platforms. Those are
Yeah.
perfect places to host your events because it gets them into your community, right? And so I don't have one of my students actually has a community. I forget now what platform she's using, but it's so well set up the way she's got it all planned and organized. And, like she's got also the way it's set up, you can unlock different, courses and stuff like that, which is going to
Yeah.
be like the VIP people. And
Mhm.
so, it's not a bad idea. A lot of people are getting off of Facebook. I don't have a preference, honestly. I think just for me, the ease of Facebook at this time while I'm
Well,
doing
yeah.
other things, right? But
Well, and you built there, you
really like,
started there.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons that I found Circle several years. I've been using it for years now. They were a baby company. They were only like a year in, but that's like the tech nerd of me. I love finding things that are new and then investing my time, money, and energy into them that I think are going to grow and become something epic, which is how I feel about Circle itself. But I mean, that's one of the reasons that we host all of our summits in there is that we can have the events in there, but we can also host pre recordings. We can set up gamification in there to really drive the engagement as the challenge is happening and pre and post, obviously. It's just a really fun way to pull everything together. But that being said, it's still wherever you're hosting community, and I say that with air quotes, is an important place to continue to nurture, is really what I was going for there. And a great place to do that surveying, like we discussed earlier, and it's a great place to keep people updated and generate excitement and all of those things um, around any upcoming offers or upcoming summits. Do you yourself speak at a lot of summits too? Like, is that on your roadmap as well?
If what? Sorry?
Do you yourself speak at a lot of summits as
Oh,
well?
probably too many. But sometimes I just can't say no. So, because I've built relationships with so many amazing people, when they ask me to be on their summits, it's like, well, yeah, I have to say yes. So in April alone, I have my own summit. And then this a girl that I met because she also teaches people how to summit. She's hosting a summit at the same week as I'm hosting my summit. And I'm like, well, there's no rule that says that I can't be in a summit while I'm hosting my summit. So I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just another way to like cast your net to somebody else's audience as well. I mean, absolutely.
Please. And it's
Absolutely.
specifically for people who are interested in summits. So I have to participate. And
Right.
I'm in one the week after as well, because it's also about hosting summits. And so I couldn't say no. Um, and I'm in one the week before my summit. So, like in April, I think I'm in like three, including my own, and then May the first week, and then not to mention a few bundles that I'm in. So, but to be honest, hosting a summit in itself is a win-win all around for you and your business. What can come out of it? And not to mention, you get asked to be part of people's summits all the time after you've
Right.
hosted your own summit, right? Like the
Mhm.
visibility, it like 10 times, right? It explodes. So people finally know who you are now. So if you're like sitting on the fence and you're not sure if you want to host a summit or what, like, I highly recommend you do. But being a speaker in summits is also really truly important because, I find that sometimes like you'll be a speaker in a summit and it doesn't necessarily grow your email list that much. Sometimes, but the visibility that it brings to you, like people know who you are now, right? And people, especially if they see your face all the time, which is the importance of using probably the same headshot all the time. I have been the last couple of years anyway. But, the visibility that it gives you, the authority, right? And you're just seen as an expert the minute you are a speaker on a summit and the minute you are hosting your own summit, it's kind of like you get put on that pedestal that you must be someone important if you're speaking at summits or if you're hosting your own summits. And you become that expert in your field because, oh my God, like, I've got some amazing speakers at my summit. And it's kind of like people are probably like, the perception of you as as a host when you've got this lineup of incredible speakers that you can
Yeah.
only dream of having on your stage, right? And the people that are, attending your summit or that view you as the host are like, wow, she must be someone like she must be successful if she has so and so speaking at her summit, right? Like there's all of that. It's like a whole package deal of goodness that comes from either a hosting your summit, but also speaking on summits and also being a good speaker. And I'm not talking about delivering a good presentation, but doing your part in the promotion of,
Yes.
helping promote the summit with the host and helping. And it's a great place to also create relationships, build relationships because you remember what they said, right? When you're engaging in all of these different communities with these different people, you're creating more of that like, know, and trust factor, right? So, and more, I think it's needed, and people recognize that, and people you get to know people authentically, and without having to send those cold DMs like, "Hey, I can help you," book 30 or 50 bookings this week. No, thank you.
You're completely right. One of the things we kind of made a pivot, I'd say about a year ago, is we've been putting in a separate space within our communities that we like a couple of them we call them the speaker lounge. So it's actually a specialty space that we just give access to the speakers at. Obviously, it started out with the first iteration of it was really to give them their swipe copy and their social media graphics and to communicate with them, and it's outside of that mass email, right? So that we wanted a space and we wanted to drive them into the communities so that they would engage, right? So it was all kind of there. But then this beautiful thing happened that they started networking with one another in there and getting to know one another in there. And those like groups that we've cultivated for a couple of these clients that we've worked with have been like amazing. We also saw that once we started to make that like closed community for our speaker groups, that they all started to promote it a little better. Like,
Yeah.
it's like not necessarily they were like a comparison thing. That's not what I mean. It was more of like they're like, "Oh yeah, I do need to go and do X, Y, and Z, and you're right. I should go share those slides to my story today." And giving some accountability in that space, it really helped drive promotion for us. So that not only were they getting to connect with the speakers, which is really a valuable thing as a push to get a speaker to come on board, too, right? Is like, oh, we also have this private space where you can interact and all those things. But I mean, it really did. It birthed from a spot of like, what's the easiest way to give them their stuff? Here's your affiliate link, here's your things, all that. But then, like I said, it really turned and morphed into something so much more that has been awesome. And I recommend it to everybody that's in the summit planning now is that you have a dedicated space for those people to be able to interact. It's been really fun.
Yeah, like what I'm trying this time, I'm all about doing what feels in alignment. And The 3 last summits, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this because live expert panels, they have a good place and they're really, really awesome. But this time I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like doing it, so I'm not going to do it. Instead, I'm hosting 3 networking events for the speakers. So I've
Oh,
just kind of
fun.
like put them at 3 different times because I've got a handful of ladies in Australia and,
Mhm.
in the UK and everything. So I'm like, I'm gonna try this. And you know what? Like they're excited about it. They're like, because as much as we want to connect with the attendees, it's a little bit more difficult, right? Because they're kind of
Right.
watching on their side, but there's a really, really, truly golden opportunity in terms of speakers connecting, right? The host has chosen incredible speakers, probably with the same caliber of experience, or maybe not, but like they're kind of like at the same level in some sense. And it's just a really great way to potentially collaborate in different ways. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to do some networking sessions with the speakers because it's about relationship building now and about how can you get into other people's networks if you're not going to host a summit or outside of hosting a summit because I'm hosting this big old summit and it's in April, but then I might not host one for another year. So what am I going
Right.
to do in the meantime, right?
Right. Yeah.
I've got these amazing 50 speakers coming to my summit, going to be on stage with me. Maybe I can get into their audience with like, there's relationship marketing, I call it,
Yeah.
where we can maybe potentially collaborate in different ways, whether it be podcast swap or freebie swap, or maybe we can do like a JV partnership or whatever. Like, there's just a gold mine in that relationship building with the speakers, but not just me and the speakers, with the speakers amongst themselves. And
Yeah.
honestly, like all of the last summits, whenever we did the live expert panels, that handful of experts that were on the live expert, that was their favorite thing to do because, yes, we answered some of the attendees' questions. However, they kind of built that relationship with each other because we were on stage answering the questions, even though we weren't speaking to each other directly. We
Yeah.
kind of like were having a conversation about whatever the topic was. And so I'm giving that a go this time and see how it goes.
I love it. I really want to hear from you how it went. Like when you're done, I would love to hear like the feedback on it and stuff. I'm always all about like testing and then, changing it up and like see what works next. I mean, like it's really the only way to grow, right? Is to
I
like
know.
keep trying new things.
I know. And I'm like, I think now summits are the new normal, right? And it's so funny because like a month ago, I was in my head and I was like, it's the new. And I was talking to ChatGPT and I'm like, ChatGPT, I'm like, it's the new, and he didn't get it. And finally I woke up one day and I'm like, it's the new normal. New normal. Summits are the new normal. And I think that we need to think outside the box in different components of like in the different aspects of us hosting our summits in order to get people to attend, in order to get people to buy that VIP pass, because we want to make,
Right.
in order for speakers to sponsor your event and things like that. I think we really truly need to think outside the box on how we can elevate our events because we want to get people to sign up. And I find that there's so many now that,
Yeah.
and I might be wrong, maybe this is my perception, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm finding that there is not as many people signing up for the summits as there used to be, and maybe not as many people buying the VIP pass as there used to be because there's a summit every 5 minutes. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I feel like kind of whenever we've been doing like postmortems after a summit, that's the big thing we talk about is like, okay, well, what are we going to do next time
Yeah.
that's going to set us apart? And it's that constant battle, I guess, to find that thing. And you're right, there's so many people that are putting on summits now, and some are doing an excellent job. And there's a lot of like crap. There's a whole lot of people who are like, that looks easy. I can do that. And I mean, I've had people like straight up tell me that. I know I'm proud of this. I'm like, well, good luck. That'll be interesting. It's so much work. Like, it's so much stinking work, even when you have the roadmap.
Wrote it, right? It is a lot of work. But you
Yes,
know what? I was
it's
thinking,
fun.
I'm like, so is setting up a whole evergreen funnel with the right
Oh, yeah.
right? Saving up.
Right. Oh, I love doing summits. It goes back to like my day. Like I didn't like wedding planning was fine. There's too many emotions there for me. I loved corporate event planning. I loved it. It was very cut and dry and very easy, but you got to like pull the strings, get everything organized, line everything up, and everyone was happy at the end, right? And I love that feeling that you still get like with the virtual summit component. Um, and I agree with you. I think that pre-recorded summits are like the thing right now. I think a lot of people are getting away from doing live type events within their summits because you're completely right. The the way that we're able to stream so many places, right? Makes it so we're not able to just be like, oh, well, it's like East Coast and West Coast. What's not anymore? It's so much of a wider berth that
You
it is really difficult to host live things without like if you already know where the bulk of your users are, sure. I mean, I have one client who her users are all in New Mexico. We know that. That's where they're at. Easy to pick times, right? Like we know we can pick times. But if you're doing something on a much larger scale, it's very difficult. And I also think the pre-recorded thing works really well because it's that idea of like, I mean, depending on how you set things up, but you get this finite amount of time to watch it and then it's gone. And if you're telling me I don't have to sit down at 9 a.m. and watch it from 9 to 10, I'm probably a lot more likely that maybe I'll watch it from 7 to 8 when I actually have time at night.
mm,
And it's that idea of giving people more options. I think pre-recorded is like the way to go. I recommend it to everyone. I'm not turned off from having like a welcome kickoff call or an ending sort of call, but the bulk, the meat of it, I'm very much into the pre-recorded bucket currently. But who knows? Trends might change again, and we'll be recording an entirely different episode together a year from now, Julie. I mean,
yeah.
so true. Yeah. Oh, Julie, I just want to thank you so much. I could talk your ear off. We have, like I said, we have like so much in common. We're gonna have to do this again for sure.
Yes. Have like a 3 hour podcasting and stuff not about
We'll
some.
just be like, I'll be like, and then this. What about this? What so forth. But Julie, please tell everyone where they can find you. I'll link everything up. We'll get a link over to your email sign up so that they can stay active on all things coming up. But give us a little rundown where you can find you on social media, all those things.
And awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been so great. And we kind of like, this is like our first time connecting, which is super awesome too. So we're building that relationship now authentically.
100%. 100%.
JulieCButler.com is my website. That's where you can find me. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is Julie C. Butler XO. And I had this awesome freebie, if that's okay if I mention it. But
Absolutely. We'll link it up, but we'll link it up in the show notes. No
okay,
problem.
cool. So it's juliecbutler.com/1450. And that's how I grew my list by 1,450 people in 30 days. The power of virtual summit. So that's basically just me going through a rundown of how, and the how and the what and all of that good stuff. So, grab that and kind of like, come and find me on Instagram or, Facebook. I'm easy. You want to touch base by email or social media messages, it's all good. I'd love to hear from you. And if you found me through this podcast episode, that would be super awesome too.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll put all the links below. Everyone should definitely grab that freebie. That's fantastic. I'll throw the freebie into my community too, Julie, because I think people in there would really
Awesome.
enjoy it. I'll put the link into my community as well. Again, thank you so much,
You're
Julie, and until next time, bye, friends.